prominent personality traits or patterns. 6D11.2 Dissociality in personality disorder or personality difficulty diagnostic requirements. The core feature of the dissociality trait domain is disregard for the rights and feelings of others, encompassing both self-centeredness and lack of empathy. Common manifestations of dissociality, not all of which may be present in a given individual at a given time, include the following. 1. Self-centeredness, 2. Lack of empathy. 1. Self-centeredness in individuals high on dissociality is manifested in a sense of entitlement, believing and acting as if they deserve, without further justification, whatever they want, preferentially above what others may want or need, and that this fact should be obvious to others. Self-centeredness can be manifested both actively/intentionally and passively/unintentionally. Active, and usually intentional, manifestations of self-centeredness include expectation of others' admiration, attention-seeking behaviors to ensure being the center of others' focus, and negative behaviors, for example, anger, temper tantrums, denigrating others, when the admiration and attention that the individual expects are not granted. Typically, such individuals believe that they have many admirable qualities, that their accomplishments are outstanding, that they have or will achieve greatness, and that others should admire them. Passive and unintentional manifestations of self-centeredness reflect a kind of obliviousness that other individuals matter as much as oneself. In this aspect of dissociality, the individual's concern is with their own needs, desires and comfort, and those of others simply are not considered. 2. Lack of empathy is manifested as indifference to whether one's actions inconvenience others or hurt them in any way, for example, emotionally, socially, financially, physically, etc. As a result, individuals high on dissociality are often deceptive and manipulative, exploiting people and situations to get what they want and think they deserve. This may include being mean and physically aggressive. In the extreme, this aspect of dissociality can be manifested as callousness with regard to others' suffering, and ruthlessness in obtaining one's goals, such that these individuals may be physically violent with little to no provocation and may even take pleasure in inflicting pain and harm. Note that this aspect of dissociality does not necessarily imply that individuals high on dissociality do not cognitively understand the feelings of others, only that they are not concerned about them and instead are likely to use this understanding to exploit others. 6D11.3 Disinhibition in personality disorder or personality difficulty diagnostic requirements. The core feature of the disinhibition trait domain is the tendency to act rashly based on immediate external or internal stimuli, i.e., sensations, emotions, thoughts, without consideration of potential negative consequences. Common manifestations of disinhibition, not all of which may be present in a given individual at a given time, include the following: 1. Impulsivity, 2. Distractibility, 3. Irresponsibility, 4. Recklessness, 5. Lack of planning. 1. Impulsivity. Individuals high on disinhibition tend to act rashly based on whatever is compelling at the moment, without consideration of negative consequences for oneself or others, including putting oneself or others at physical risk. They have difficulty delaying reward or satisfaction and tend to pursue immediately available short-term pleasures or potential benefits. In this way, the trait is strongly associated with such behaviors as substance use, gambling, and impulsive sexual activity. 2. Distractibility. Individuals high on disinhibition also have difficulty staying focused on important and necessary tasks that require sustained effort. They quickly become bored or frustrated with difficult, routine, or tedious tasks, and are easily distracted by extraneous stimuli, such as others' conversations. Even in the absence of distractions, they have difficulty keeping their attention focused and persisting on tasks, and tend to scan the environment for more enjoyable options. 3. Irresponsibility. Individuals high on disinhibition are unreliable and lack a sense of accountability for their actions. As a result, They often do not complete work assignments or perform expected duties, they fail to meet deadlines, do not follow through on commitments and promises, and are late to or miss formal and informal appointments and meetings because they allow themselves to become engaged in something more compelling that has caught their attention. 4. Recklessness. Individuals high on disinhibition lack an appropriate sense of caution. They tend to overestimate their abilities and thus frequently do things that are beyond their skill level, without considering potential safety risks. Individuals high on disinhibition may engage in reckless driving or dangerous sports, or perform other activities that put them or others in physical danger without sufficient preparation or training. 5. Lack of planning. Individuals high on disinhibition prefer spontaneous overplanned activities, leaving their options open should a more attractive opportunity arise. They tend to focus on immediate feelings, sensations and thoughts, with relatively little attention paid to longer-term or even short-term goals. When they do make plans, they often fail to follow through on them, thus they seldom are able to reach long-term goals and often fail to achieve even short-term goals. 6T11.4 Anankastia, personality disorder or personality difficulty diagnostic requirements. The core feature of the Anankastia trait domain is a narrow focus on one's rigid standard of perfection and of right and wrong, and on controlling one's own and others' behavior and controlling situations to ensure conformity to these standards. Common manifestations of Anankastia, not all of which may be present in a given individual at a given time, include 1. Perfectionism, 2. Emotional and behavioral constraint. 1. Perfectionism. Perfectionism is manifested in concern with social rules, obligations, norms of right and wrong, scrupulous attention to detail, rigid, systematic, day-to-day routines, excessive scheduling and planning, and an emphasis on organization, orderliness, and neatness. Individuals high on Anankastia have a very clear and detailed personal sense of perfection and imperfection that also extends beyond community standards to encompass the individual's idiosyncratic notions of what is perfect and right. They believe strongly that everyone should follow all rules exactly and meet all obligations. Individuals with high on Anankastia may redo the work of others because it does not meet their perfectionistic standards. They have difficulty in interpersonal relationships because they hold others to the same standards as themselves and are inflexible in their views. 2. Emotional and behavioral constraint. Emotional and behavioral constraint is manifested in rigid control over emotional expression, stubbornness and inflexibility, risk avoidance, perseveration, and deliberativeness. Individuals with prominent anankastic traits tightly control their own emotional expression and disapprove of others' displays of emotion. They are inflexible and lack spontaneity, stubbornly insisting on following set schedules and adhering to plans. Their risk avoidance includes both refusal to engage in obviously risky activities and a more general over-concern about avoiding potential negative consequences of any activity. They often perseverate, and have difficulty disengaging from tasks because they are perceived as not yet perfect down to the last detail. They are highly deliberative, and have difficulty making decisions due to concern that they have not considered every aspect and all alternatives to ensure that the right decision is made. 6D11.5 Borderline Pattern Diagnostic Requirements. The borderline pattern specifier may be applied to individuals whose pattern of personality disturbance is characterized by a pervasive pattern of instability of interpersonal relationships, self-image, and affects, and marked impulsivity, as indicated by 5 or more of the following. 1. Frantic efforts to avoid real or imagined abandonment. 2. A pattern of unstable and intense interpersonal relationships, which may be characterized by vacillations between idealization and devaluation, typically associated with both strong desire for and fear of closeness and intimacy. 3. Identity disturbance, manifested in markedly and persistently unstable self-image or sense of self. 4. A tendency to act rashly in states of high negative affect, leading to potentially self-damaging behaviors, for example, risky sexual behavior, reckless driving, excessive alcohol or substance use, binge eating. 5. Recurrent episodes of self-harm, for example, suicide attempts or gestures, self-mutilation. 6. Emotional instability due to marked reactivity of mood. Fluctuations of mood may be triggered either internally, for example, by one's own thoughts, or by external events. 7. Chronic feelings of emptiness. 8. Inappropriate intense anger or difficulty controlling anger manifested in frequent displays of temper, for example, yelling or screaming, throwing or breaking things, getting into physical fights. 9. Transient dissociative symptoms or psychotic-like features, for example, brief hallucinations, paranoia, in situations of high affective arousal. Other manifestations of borderline pattern, not all of which may be present in a given individual at a given time, include the following. 1. A view of the self as inadequate, bad, guilty, disgusting, and contemptible. 2. An experience of the self as profoundly different and isolated from other people, a painful sense of alienation, and pervasive loneliness. 3. Proneness to rejection, hypersensitivity, problems in establishing and maintaining consistent, and appropriate levels of trust in interpersonal relationships, frequent misinterpretation of social signals. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.